message. So you have, similar to the last one, you've got multiple options or prompts here, okay? And all of these, you're going to use the indirect pattern. All right, on all these options, you use the indirect pattern. The other thing you probably want to do, whichever one of the four of these you choose, is your opening buffer is going to be some kind of appreciation. So thank them for being a customer. Thank them for being an employee, you know, something like that. Just your opening buffer should always be appreciation, and that's how it'll work out in these four options. So, and I'll go through the details in a second, but 914, claim denial, expensive eyeglasses lost on a plane. So you work for the airlines, you have a customer who lost their glasses on the plane, and they want you to reimburse them in cash. And your task, because it's bad news, is guess what? You're going to tell them no, instead of telling them yes. So there's a way to do that, and I'm going to go over the details in just a couple minutes. 917, bad news to customers, pick a price hike. This is probably something we've all seen, right? So when a company has to increase its prices, it doesn't matter whether it's your wireless carrier or if it's Netflix or if it's your insurance company or something like that, you've got to let customers know, right? And you need to let them know in advance of the price hikes. And you can make something up if you want. I don't care in this particular case, but you're going to be informing your customers that you're raising the prices. And we'll talk about the reasons in a couple minutes. But again, another one where you want to thank them for being a customer. 9.18, disappointed customers, J. Crew goofs on cashmere sweater. So what we have here is, you probably heard of these things happening, but J. Crew priced an item incorrectly on its website, and they left off a couple zeros on the price. And so I've heard of these things happening. Guess what happens when something's underpriced significantly in error, right, on someone's website, right? People go nuts and start buying it. And so what you're having to do is let them know they are not getting that price. Some companies will honor that in certain situations, others will not. If it's something that, you know, comes up regularly, obviously companies can get in trouble for that. You know, they can be sued, all kinds of things, but I always find it interesting. It's like sometimes people just make errors, right? And it just, they're not always going to be honored. 9.21, it says bad news to employees, say goodbye to gourmet meals and perks. So in this particular case, you have a company that was giving their employees a lot of perks. You always hear about these things sometimes in tech companies, right? You know, the rest of us are scraping by, and then you hear like, you know, they have a dog spa at Google or something like that. But anyway, this company is, because they've had some financial issues, are going to be getting rid of some of these perks. They're not laying anybody off. They're not cutting salaries or anything else, but they're taking away some of these perks, and you have to let the employees know. All right. So when you do this, complete it as an email and include a subject line. So disregard anything about mailing addresses in the assignment. Just do them as an email with a subject line. Again, complete this using Microsoft Word, Google Docs, or PDF. And then just upload the digital copy to Canvas under bad news message in the assignments area. There's actually a link, I think, at the top of this. No, this is the assignment, not the announcement. Never mind. It's at the bottom. You obviously can complete, the assignment and can use any materials, and then just list the exercise number along with your full name at the top. And then just again, down below, I just listed some of these are just from the notes and things like that, just goals that you have with the bad news. You know, we always want to make the receiver understand and accept the bad news. That doesn't mean it's going to happen. I know anybody who's worked with customers or anybody else knows this. You know what? They can totally be at fault. You can handle it at 100% professionally and be nice and everything else. And some people are always going to be angry. It's just the way it is, right? Or upset or whatever it is. And you're going to find other folks are a little more gracious. But I think it's important to do this because, again, sometimes in life, right, when the emotional part dies down, people look back on it and can kind of, ascertain whether somebody handled something professionally or not. You're trying to maintain a good image for yourself and your organization. I always think it should just be professional. That's what we're trying to be, is professional here. You'd like to make the message clear so that additional correspondence is unnecessary. Again, good luck with that with some people, right? But that's why we make sure that we list the reasons. So we're not constantly having to go back, right, and tell them the reasons again. We lay it all out up front so that hopefully additional stuff is unnecessary. And then finally, we want to avoid creating legal liability in there. Okay. So if you're actually doing this in your workplace, I would definitely be bouncing this off your manager or somebody like that before just sending something out. And then again, the indirect pattern, we want to start with a buffer. Again, just a neutral opening statement, the reasons, which is an explanation for the causes of the bad news. The bad news, a clear but understated announcement of the bad news, or sometimes an alternative or compromise. You'll see that sometimes in some business settings, right? Although you don't qualify for this loan, we can offer you this one. Or, sometimes the bad news is something as simple. If you've ever gone to order something online, and one nice thing I find about ordering online is I kind of know whether or not the store has it. I don't have to drive all the way. There's nothing worse to me than going somewhere and, I want to get this. Do you have it in this size? Like, no, we're out. Like, you can go to our Brea store. They might have it, but when it's online, you kind of know right away, right? They will. Sometimes though they don't, right? Sometimes it happens. They end up being out of stock or something, or maybe they don't have exactly what you want. And you'll see that sometimes, although we can't offer you this one, right? We can offer you this one. And so you're going, I think that it's called subordination. I think it's a really great technique because you're taking them from your no is kind of subtle, and then you're giving them a counter offer right away, right? And whether they take it or not is up to them. Finally, the closing, a personalizing, forward-looking, pleasant statement. Again, our goal is we're hoping this person will do business with us again or continue to do business with us, right? It's the business version of we can still be friends, all right? So your prompts, and these are from the chapter activities in your textbook. There's a PDF version in the files. I've just consolidated these all, and they're in the module on one page for you. So I'm going to go ahead and read through these, and I'll give you a couple tips. So the first one, it says claim denial, pricey prescription eyewear left on plane. You can tell these authors like alliteration. They always do this. So it says Pacific Southern Airlines had an unhappy customer. Cynthia Mercer Walters flew from Philadelphia to Phoenix. The flight stopped briefly in Atlanta, where she got off the plane for half an hour. When she returned to her seat, her $400 prescription eyeglasses were gone. She asked the flight attendant where the glasses were, and the flight attendant said they were probably thrown away since the cleaning crew had come in with big bags and tossed everything in them. Ouch. Okay, I think we need to retrain that flight attendant. But Miss Walters tried to locate the glasses through the airline's lost and found service, but she failed. Then she wrote a strong letter to the airline demanding reimbursement for the loss. She felt it was obvious that she was returning to her seat. The airline, however, knows that an overwhelming number of passengers arriving at hubs switch planes for their connecting flights. The airline does not know who is returning. What's more, flight attendants usually announce that the plane is continuing to another city and that passengers who are returning should take their belongings. Cabin cleaning crews speed through the planes, removing newspapers, magazines, leftover foods, and trash. Airlines feel no responsibility for items left in cabins. It's pretty common to see signage in places, right? Items left behind. It's a very strong legal sign, usually certain places, right? I know I've seen them in the airport where they have, do they still, I don't even know, they still have them in Orange County, like the lockers in the airport where people can put stuff. And they'll say right there, we're not responsible for what's in these. So if you're locking it up and leaving there, good luck. But that's kind of how they roll. We want to respond a little differently to the customer. We don't want to just strong arm her and say, anything left behind is your responsibility. Your task as a staff member of the customer relations department is to deny the customer's claim, but retain goodwill using techniques learned in this chapter. The airline never refunds cash. No, they don't, but it might consider travel vouchers for the value of the glasses. Remember that apologies cost nothing. Write a claim letter, email to Mrs. Mercier Walters. So I think the way you'd want to approach this is you'd want to obviously thank them for being a customer of your airlines. And then in your explanation, you'd probably say something like, flight attendants ask passengers to remove all personal items when exiting the planes so that our cleaning crews can quickly clean the planes. Items left behind may be discarded. And the thing is, we really don't know what happened. We're going based on what this person thinks. She could have left them in the bathroom at the airport. I mean, my God, how many people do you know? Have you ever seen that are looking for their sunglasses and they've got them on their head? Stuff like that. So we would just want to say it nicely like that, right? We ask people to remove all items. We don't tell her you're wrong or anything like that. Just tell her, our flight attendants ask passengers to remove their items when exiting the plane. Items left behind may be discarded. That's our reasons, right? Because we really don't know what happened. And then part of me is like, wow, do you really think they would throw them away? They probably would put them in lost and found if they found glasses. Then on the other hand, who knows? Because some companies would probably make you fill out a report. And then your bad news, this is a good place where you can use that alternative thing, right? Where you might say something like, although we cannot refund you cash, we can offer you travel vouchers for the value of your flight. Something like that. We're already saying, no, you're not getting, right, the refund, but we can offer you. And that's a really common airline thing, right? They do that all the time. I know it's super frustrating to passengers. They don't like to give money back. They like to just give you credit and stuff like that. But that's one thing that you can offer. Although we cannot offer you cash refund, we can give you travel vouchers for, I believe it's $400 in this case. And then close it up by, then telling the customer how they can get the vouchers and thanking them for being a customer, and hopefully they'll fly you again. That's your goal in this particular case, right? You're not going to tell them yes, so they're not going to get the answer they want, but you want to keep their business, and hopefully this is a response that works. 917, if you pick a price hike, again, I think you can pick almost anything. If you're really lucky, maybe in your emails, you're going to find, I don't know who's raised their fees recently. There's bound to be somebody out there, right? Netflix, Hulu, Verizon, your insurance, I don't know, somebody, right? Anyway, understand those strategies. So pick something that I love that I still have newspaper written on there. I should probably take that off there. But although technically you can subscribe to a newspaper online and they're no longer a newspaper. But yeah, it could be utility, insurance, anything like that, right? Assume that the provider must raise its rates and that you are the customer or employee who must notify the customers. Decide whether to use direct or indirect. I would be indirect. I would start out by number one, thanking them for being a customer. All right. And then in your reasons, right, start giving them reasons why you may be raising the rates, right? It could be something like, a lot of times with these companies now, because so many things are technologically related, they've been investing money in their infrastructure. They're spending, every Verizon commercial, right? Or I don't know, whatever. All they do is talk about how many towers they're putting up and all the 5G and all the investments in technology, right? And the benefit is you're going to be able to get better service. That's obviously one. And that's a reason for raising the rates. Probably another one in the past year with certain companies, they probably incurred a lot of additional expenses due to everything surrounding COVID. Maybe it's increased their shipping costs or raw materials, or maybe it's just all the safety precautions that have to be taken. All that stuff is expensive. That's a reason, right? Then go ahead and tell them about the rate change. And I think a couple things are important here. I go, number one, be specific about it, right? I don't know about you, but if somebody just told me like, yeah, your electricity is going to go up 5%. I don't know. Well, electricity is not a good one because that differs every month, doesn't it? Never mind. Well, let's say it was a cell phone bill. And if they said your bill is going to go up 5%, what is that? What does that mean? Right? And it does vary a little each month anyway, I've noticed, or saying it's going up $5. Be very specific with someone and say your monthly charge is going from $44.99 to $49.99, right? Just be real specific with them. Gym memberships, that would be another one that would definitely fall under this. They will say things like, we've got new equipment, we're spending a lot of money on, I'd hate to see their cleaning bill. Yeah, that's right. Waste management. Yeah, depending, mine went up earlier this year, but yeah, so they probably explain that in there as well, why it goes up. I mean, I'm sure it's just general costs of, around here, it's probably cost of equipment and cost of labor. And I'm sure there's environmental restrictions in California that make it become more expensive. But anyway, yeah, give them the reasons, but then just be really specific about the amount that it's going up, right? And then another thing, make sure you give someone enough notice. It should probably be at least a month, if not more, right? People want notice. And then another thing in there too, maybe is, like for instance, if it were a gym membership and somebody's gym membership was going from $19.99 to $24.99, that's too much for some people. They don't want to do that, right? They're just going to be like, no, I'm out. There's probably some people who'll get that letter and forgot they had a gym membership. But sometimes what you can do also, you can say your XYZ membership is going, from $19.99 to $24.99, effective September 1st, 2021. And sometimes I've seen things too where they say, like, if you want to continue paying the same rate, you can switch to our, MNLOP program, something that maybe has less features, but is the same monthly amount. And again, just closing it up and building goodwill. And you can pick anything for that particular one. Disappointed customers, J. Crew cashmere sweater. So I love these. Somebody had a good time writing these. Who wouldn't want a cashmere turtleneck sweater for $28? No, probably not right this week. It seems a little warm for it, but for $28. At the J. Crew website, many delighted shoppers scrambled to order the bargain cashmere. Unfortunately, the price should have been $228. Before J. Crew officials could correct the mistakes, several hundred e-shoppers had bagged the bargain sweater for their digital shopping carts. You hear about these occasionally in places sometimes where somebody misprices something. I know a couple of years ago, one of the airlines ran a promotion and it was supposed to be a $99 flight. I can't remember where, and they put in 99 cents. I don't know. It was one of the big carriers. I think it was like an LA to San Francisco round trip or something like that. Well, anyway, apparently 2 travel agents bought out the whole plane in like 2 seconds. But they honored it. And some companies will sometimes choose to honor it for various reasons. And I'm sure the airlines do it because, they're not exactly people's favorite, industry to deal with. But yeah, and some companies will choose to do it, but sometimes companies will say, we're very sorry, but no, that was just an error, plain and simple, right? You're not getting that, okay? So several hundred people had bagged the bargain sweater. When the mistake was discovered, J. Crew immediately sent an email to the soon-to-be disappointed shoppers. The subject line shouted, "Big mistake." I don't think I'd put that on the subject line. But a J. Crew executive began her message with this statement: "I wish we could sell such an amazing sweater for only $28. Our price mistake on the new cashmere sweater probably went right by you, but rather than charge you such a large difference, I'm willing to alert you this item has been removed from your recent order." So I'd probably reword that, starting with the subject line, "Big mistake." But anyway, as an assistant to the communications department of J. Crew, you saw the email that was sent to customers and you tactfully suggest the bad news might have been broken differently. Your boss says, "Okay, hot stuff, give it your best shot." So your task is to write an improved email. And J. Crew has decided to allow customers who ordered the sweater for $28 to reorder it for $128 to $140, depending on the size. And they're given a special link to go to. So the way you'd want to approach this, again, your buffer is just thank them for shopping at J. Crew. And then you're going to get into the reasons. Okay. But before you do that, I think sometimes it's a good idea to identify what is the bad news. And the bad news here is not that the price changed. The bad news that we're giving the customers is they're not getting the $28 sweater. Okay. And the reason is because it was priced incorrectly. So the thing to simply tell them there is that due to an error on our website, our cashmere sweater was priced for $28 instead of $228. And then a way you can kind of say this so that it looks like it's to their advantage. And I know some people think this sounds sort of tricky, but I don't know, you just say something so that you're not charged the additional $200. We have removed this item from your order. So in other words, you're saying in a very subtle way how they're not getting it. And then you can close it up by giving them this offer, right? If you'd like to purchase this sweater, again, we can offer it to you at the discounted price of $128 to $140, depending on the size. All right. Finally, the last one here, 921, bad news to employees, say goodbye to gourmet meals and perks. I wish I worked someplace that had that. Although always beware if anybody ever says they work somewhere that always feeds them. Part of the reason is because then they keep you working right through lunch. When a high-tech startup, Minx, first hit the technology scene, it created a big splash. Its music streaming and voice control technology promised to revolutionize the field. It attracted $500,000 in seed money. Should probably change those numbers, right? And maybe add a zero in there, suggesting that it could hire the best talent and create amazing new products. But Minx quickly fell off the fast track. It spent nearly $400,000 on a Bluetooth product that sold only 28 units. In addition, a botched security update resulted in the companies having to conduct a nationwide recall of its smart products. Yet other products have been successful and the company is not pacing bankruptcy. Initially, Minx offered perks to attract the best and brightest talent. It provided an in-house chef with free gourmet meals, unlimited acupuncture, and free yoga classes. Its offices were pet-friendly, and new employees received a $10,000 cash signing bonus. To counter the long hours the tech world notoriously demands of its workers, Minx offered relaxation areas with table tennis and foosball tables. This sounds like, what was that? Didn't they do a movie like with all that about Google or something a while back? It was a really bad movie, but I remember they showed all these things. Whatever. But the point is this is something sometimes tech companies are known for. Again, they're making a ton of money and they're trying to attract the best people, so they continue offering perks. Well, in this case, they're going to have to cut back. So bad times have made it necessary for Minx to pull back on its employee perks. Although no staff are being released, the in-house chef, along with acupuncture, yoga, and the $10,000 signing bonus are going away. However, it's still a good place to work and camaraderie is high. Your task, you've been asked to draft an email memo to employees announcing the bad news, explain the cutbacks that affect current employees, employ the bad news techniques from this chapter, and what could be soften the bad news. So I think the first thing to do, obviously, you're opening, you want to thank them for all their hard work, right? And tell them how much they mean to you. Your reasons are going to be the financial reasons they've discussed, right? In the past year, we've had some financial setbacks. We lost $400,000 on this. We had to recall a product. And then your bad news is going to be, as a result of these financial setbacks, we will need to, and you could say temporarily too, is another thing, right? We're temporarily suspending these perks. And then maybe mention that when things change, right, we'll reinstate them. I think that's a real positive way to go about it. And then just close it up by thanking them for their hard work. So what you'll need to do is you'll need to pick one of these 4 assignments. Again, I think with all of them, I think you start out by showing appreciation in your indirect opening. It's definitely the best way to go with this. So just, again, choose one, your name at the top, the exercise number, a subject line, and then the message itself. And again, take a look at the notes. There's some good examples, and in the chapter, there's some good examples of some phrases you can use for each one of the steps in the bad news message process, okay? Again, it's just the buffer, reasons, bad news, closing. And again, when I grade them, that's what I'm gonna look at. I'm gonna go, there's the bad news, the reasons, or I'm sorry, buffer, reasons, bad news, closing, okay? And I'll be looking for those things in that order, all right?